Welcome back, friends. Today we're going to be taking a look at everything that I really wish I'd known back before I started playing, or right when I started playing FS22. We are on a brand new save here because at least that way we are starting off clean on the bat and I don't have a ton of other stuff going on. We also aren't going to cover a ton of actual gameplay type of stuff. I just kind of really want to go over some of the basics. Whenever I start a brand new game, if there's mods that you can do, I am that type of person where I usually will try and play as long as I can before I touch any mods and really only take a look at them once I get a little bit bored. I think that's the wrong way to do it in FS22. And I mean, I watched a lot of stuff when I started playing because this is a tough game to start out with. And almost everybody says, yeah, just play base game, play base game. I think that's wrong because there are a handful of mods that really just affect quality of life and make things much easier, especially if you're starting out. These 7 mods I really think are kind of quintessential if you're just starting out in FS22. I am on Xbox. These are all platform. So to start off with here, the CSZ pack. I love this. I use this all the time. Ever since I started using it, I keep it on every single game I play just for this big bag handler. And I'm going to buy one at the store right now and we will go ahead and let's run over to the store right now and take a look at it. We got 100 grand. We're just going to buy a tractor real fast and throw a front loader onto it. Something that I know will take a front loader attacher. Yes. And that's way too expensive. All right, we will lease it. And then if I look at combinations, there we go. We will go ahead and lease that as well, just so that we have it and can take a look at the big bag handler without having to reconfigure one of the tractors we already have to make things easier for the video. If you're starting out yourself, I don't recommend doing it this way. One of those tractors, if not multiple, will take a front loader. You just kind of have to take them up to the shop and see what'll work for you. And I got the big bag handler set up wrong, it looks like. So we are gonna fix that right now by, yeah, I got it set for a skid steer. My bad. We're gonna sell that and we're gonna buy another one. All right, so when you do buy it, good lesson to learn, look up where it says attachers right there because it is set up for different vehicles. You can use it on anything. But you do have to have it set up for what you want to use it on for it to connect. So we're going to set it for a front loader there. And now we can connect. Now, the reason I absolutely love this is it does have straps. So on console, if you hold RB, or on Xbox, if you hold RB and then hit into your right stick, it'll attach and detach the straps. And that's going to come in really handy for us. If we go ahead and buy a pallet, and we're going to buy a big bag as well here. All right, so if we buy a pallet, or if you're doing some forestry work, cutting down some trees, anything like that, have a bale that you need to move, you can just strap it right to your big bag handler and move it around. It's probably the easiest way to move items in this game, and I really wish this was something that was included in base game, but it's not. So now if we come over a big bag though, we can just attach it right to it and move the big bag around. We don't have to worry about anything accidentally falling off. It just works perfect for us. Now that we've covered that in probably greater detail than I meant to, the other mods we have real fast, liftable bales pack and the liftable pallets and big bags. The one thing to keep in mind with the liftable bales pack is you have to be using a baler that works with liftable bales and it will pop out bales you can just pick up. I know even in some of my videos, a lot of people kind of count this as cheating and silly that you're going to make the bales where you can just lift them and move them around. But when you start out fresh in FS22, bales are one of the slightly more challenging things to deal with. And it's a lot easier if you can just pick it up and move it when you need to. Now, you should still practice with using a tractor on them all, but it's a lot easier if when you need to, you can pick it up and move it. Same with like your big bags and your pallets here. So, I mean, I showed you how, yes, you can use this big bag handler we got, because if you come up to it, object too heavy, you can't pick it up. But with the liftable version, You can pick it up, you can move it around, you can stick it into the back of a trailer, you can throw it. I mean, it's really useful for just not having to constantly use the tractor when you're just starting to learn the game, learn how to maneuver, and learn how things work in here. And that brings us to the Lizard Forge pickup. Anything bulk, anything on the ground, this will pick up. The other nice thing is when you're doing contracts, you can use this to pick stuff up that you're not allowed to take. So if you're harvesting wheat and you drop straw behind on that wheat harvest, you can come back through and pick up the straw with the forge pickup. And then you can sell the straw, keep the straw, whatever you want to do with it. And it's those little things that really kind of should be in the game that aren't, because realistically, if you were taking a contract with somebody to go ahead and sell off all their wheat, harvest their wheat and sell it, there's a chance that they'd be letting you keep the straw, or you'd also be getting told, yep, you're going to harvest the straw and you're going to sell that to her or whatever. And this just kind of helps even out the fact that you can do that then. That brings us to the TLX series trucks, the 2020 3500 and the TLX Phoenix. Now, I won't say these are completely necessary. It is, again, just kind of a quality of life improvement type of thing, because they give you a lot of different attachments and setups. So it makes it a little bit easier as opposed to trying to go through and find a bunch of different things to just be able to come here and get what you need. The semis work a lot better than the base game semis. The base game semis are a bit underpowered and bogged down really easily. These won't. These are going to work a lot better than those do. And you've got a tipper trailer, you've got tankers, you've got a logging trailer, and you've got dollies in order to throw on a second set behind it. So if you want to have a dump trailer on your truck and then you do a second one and pull up one of these pup trailer frames, you'll be pulling a dump trailer behind you as well as the dump trailer on your truck. And you've got auto load as well. It's not really the best auto load that's available, and I don't think it works with the liftable bales. I could be wrong there, but the liftable bale pack does give you a auto load trailer as well. Let's double check that real quick. Yes, it does give you an auto load trailer as well. And it's another one of those things where auto load just kind of helps out when you're not used to the game yet. I use auto load all the time still. I could probably load them all manually using a tractor, and whether it's the big bag handler or you're actually using a bale fork, you can do it. It's not that difficult. It's just the amount of time it takes. And that's one of the things that really frustrated me right off the bat in FS22 was things take a decent amount of time and you don't always realize it. So you sit down to play the game for a little bit and all of a sudden it's 3 hours later and you feel like you've done hardly anything in the game because everything's taking so long. Little things like that where you can just drive around and do an auto load to pick up all your bales, it helps speed things up a lot faster. So now that we've gone over what mods I think are absolutely crucial to start the game with, even if you're not necessarily buying everything right off the bat, but just to be able to have them available, let's take a look at game settings. Because I mean, this is another one of those things where I never really had it all explained in a lot of the starting off videos, beginner videos, things like that. And I really wish it was. You've got a couple different things. Honestly, the menus themselves even can be a little bit tricky. We'll look at that in just a minute. Let's focus on the game settings first here. So we've got two different sets of settings. First off here, we've got our actual game settings. Pause game, obvious. Autosave. This is one of those things where keep in mind, you're going to want to change this at times. At times you will want to turn this off so that you can just save manually, because as it just saved for us a second ago when I went into the menu, autosave doesn't actually save every 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, etc. It saves every 15 minutes after you go into your menu. So if it's been a half hour and you haven't gotten into your menu and your game crashes, it'll still not have saved. So you're going to want to make sure even with autosave on, you're going into your menu regularly to save just without having to hit the save button, which you can see down at the bottom of the screen there. So even if you have it off and you just practice every once in a while saving, you know, kind of like you were taught in school doing reports, it'll almost work better than autosave does. The other thing to keep in mind is if you have autosave on, if you make a mistake and you want to quit the game and go back and fix it, well, if you hit your menu to hit quit game, it might just save on you because it's been 15 minutes or past your autosave interval. So keep that in mind. Timescale. Slow it down when you start out. I probably wouldn't quite do real time. You can if you want. I tend to keep it on 3 times, and I'll up my days per month, and we'll show that in a minute. Difficulty, just keep it on easy. As you get better, increase it. Really, all it changes, like it says right there, is your economics. Traffic, I always see everyone saying, turn it off, turn it off. You get stuff in the way, everything gets banged up, all that. I never really see enough traffic to bother turning it off. If you get stuck somewhere in traffic, turn it off and all the cars will disappear, and then you can turn it back on. It really doesn't matter that much. Seasonal growth. You might as well leave it. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to make things easier, turn it off. It just kind of limits that it's a little bit more realistic in terms of when you can plant and grow crops. It really kind of takes something away from the game if you're not using it, because then that means you can grow everything at all times, no matter what, and it's just a little weird. Now, the absolute biggest thing, which I don't think I was ever really told in any of the beginner stuff I looked at, days per month. Now, I know a lot of people keep it short and buzz through kind of as fast as they can, and if you want to do that, go for it. When you start, though, make it a little bit longer. I like 3. You can always go up, and the reason I say that is at any point, you can still go to your house and end your day and turn it to the next day. So if you want to just kind of get through a month because you're a little bit bored, you can just go ahead and drive over to your house and you can sleep, and it'll set you to the next day. But what it does, having it longer, is it makes it a lot easier to get contracts. Because when you go to your contracts, they are varied based on month and based on growth cycle. So the faster you go through the game, the faster these contracts are going to come up and leave. They will not stay forever. You will lose them. So if you have it on 3 days, it gives you a little bit more time to just kind of pick out the best contracts and go and do those, or have a worker do those, and not have to worry about losing out on a $12,000 contract or $20,000 contract even sometimes. Fixed visual and snow, I mean, do what you want to do. It really doesn't snow that much or cause that much of a problem. I always just leave it on, and I leave fixed visual off because why would you want every single month and every day to look the exact same? Now, the big ones when we get down to crops and growth. Crop destruction, starting out, you probably want to turn it off, because if you have it on and you either forget to turn your machine on, so like our harvester is on here and I just picked up the header, but if we don't turn the header on and we start driving into our crops to harvest, well, look at that, we just ran over a bunch of our crops and destroyed them. Now, it's really not the end of the world. You lose a little bit of yield, or if you're driving around and forget and drive through, it'll destroy stuff. Not the biggest thing in the world, but again, you might as well just turn it off and make things easier on yourself when you're starting out. Plowing, it starts defaulted off. It's up to you. If you're using base game plows, you probably want to keep it off so that it's a lot easier because the base game plows are so small. Field stones, lime, and weeds. Everything I always saw and was told on beginner stuff is turn them off. Honestly, I would say turn them on, leave them on. It doesn't change that much of the game. It means you've got to go through and spray for weeds or use a weed puller. It's a little bit more equipment that you have to buy and learn how to use, but that gives you a reason to learn it. Lime, same thing. You've just got to go spread lime once in a while, and if you don't, it just hits your yield a bit. And yeah, you want to maximize your yield, but to be honest, if it's just to start playing the game and learning, what does it matter if you get 5% less yield? Field stones. Once you pick them up, you can sell them. It doesn't really earn enough to really be super profitable, but it just kind of, again, is teaching you how to do more in the game and getting you to help know exactly kind of what you can do in the game. Vehicle controls. The only thing I really always do and say, it defaults automatic engine start to on. I always turn it off just because that way you can get into the vehicle without it being on, and you can leave the vehicle on if you want to when you get out for whatever reason. And AI workers. I turn all of this off. If you need to, you can come back and turn it on. What it does is it has the worker just continuously buy whatever is on there. It doesn't actually refill. So if you have fuel refill set to buy and you have a worker using equipment, it'll be the exact same fuel level it was before you had them go do it. Which is kind of silly because it says it has them refill it. They don't refill it. They just keep spending, which means when you're paying that worker to do something, you're now paying them basically triple the price because they're buying fuel as they do whatever you're paying them to do, and seeds and fertilizer or whatever you're having them do. All right, general settings. None of this is really all that incredible with anything. Go through it, change anything you want to, turn music on, off, whatever you want to do. Keep your help window on though. I also kind of immediately turned off the help window when I started playing, and it was the biggest mistake I can make, and I couldn't figure out how to do anything. Keep your help window on. It really, really does help. I have it on almost all the time that I play, just because different machines have different button menus, different setups, and there's no way you're going to remember all of them. On console, it's not as easy to flip it on and off as it is on PC. On PC, you can have it off, and with a button combo, turn it back on. You've got to go all the way into the menus to do it on console. Now, the other big thing with the menus is you do have two of them, and you've got a ton of different tabs between each one. If you hit your start button, you're going to get this whole menu set, which is basically going to be your settings and the map. If you hit your share button on Xbox, select button, whatever you want to call it, you get into your shop and everything you own. Biggest thing with the shop too, keep an eye on the used vehicles here. Watch for when things pop up that eventually you're gonna maybe need or maybe want, and you might as well buy it. Like realistically, if we were gonna keep playing this game right now, I'd be buying that auto load trailer right now. I don't have any grass work to do. I don't even have one of the balers for it, but you know what? It's really cheap and you're going to be saving $9 grand on it. You might as well buy it if you're going to need it. When it comes to our other menu here, our settings menu and everything else, the other really big thing that I wish that they explained more in the tutorial that they didn't is you can set workers from here. Now, it's a lot easier to do it on PC. You don't really notice it as much in here, but I'm going to get a little bit away from this field to make so I don't get myself stuck with that. If I come over and I select my equipment using my right stick there, I'm going to hit A to create job. And you can see up in the corner now, it's immediately showing field work. I can also switch using my left and right on the D-pad if I want to just send them somewhere else. But we're going to keep that field work, and we're going to hit our D-pad down to hit target position. And we're basically right where we're at already. But we'll go ahead and hit there again and hit over just to make sure I'm at the right spot. And I'm going to hit X to start job. Now, that's automatically starting our harvester to start harvesting on that field. I could have just hopped into the harvester and started him right there since he's right there. But I mean, let's say now that I owned a field on the other side of the map and wanted him to harvest there, I don't want to have to drive all the way over there or hop into him and set him to go over there or anything else and then do it. It saves time and it's a lot more efficient, makes a lot more sense. It's just one of those things where this way I can say, now let's say I want to send you over here because I just picked up a contract. I can tell you to go over there, and maybe I need, you know, a couple more tractors to go over there as well. So again, we're going to send you up over here too. And I can set both of them to start driving away. Now I got stuff blocking them, so it's not working right now, of course. But at least you get the idea of it can make things much easier, much more efficient than me tabbing between the tractors. And we're going to go ahead and do that real quick just to stop them from freaking out. But it saves you from having to tab between the tractors and then go into the menu to send them each time individually. It's just a little bit easier if you go through and select each one. All right. The next thing, one of the biggest tips that I saw that I liked, and honestly I still kind of like it, is to sell off all the stuff, sell off all the buildings that you don't need when you start. The downside of this is you got to be really careful when you do it. the first time I did it, I screwed up big time and then wound up selling off my harvester because I didn't even realize you could reset them either, because again, that's something that's not really explained in the tutorial. So if we go into our build menu here, I'm going to select it and sell off my garage there because you don't really need the garage. And now my truck's floating, and as soon as we get out of the build menu, it's probably going to fall, or as soon as I get into it. But we're going to sell off a bunch of this stuff. That doesn't do anything whatsoever. That just takes up space, so I always get rid of it because at the very least, it's just out of the way. I usually do keep the farm, but let's just go ahead and for this example too, we're going to select that and sell off the barn. And now we've got some giant holes, and like I said, as soon as I get into my truck, oops, it's going to fall down and get stuck. That's why you gotta be careful, and if you go in and save beforehand, you can quit the game, reload it, and not have to worry about it. Now, the two things we're gonna do to fix this real quick though is we're gonna go ahead and go into our world mapped menu here, whatever you want to call it, and we're gonna select the truck, and if you look down at the bottom, it says reset with Y. Hit reset. It's gonna teleport it back to our shop, and then we can just drive it home and it's not stuck anymore. Another one of the big things that they never explained in the tutorial that would have been nice, but they didn't. Now, we're going to go ahead and just level out these holes real quick. If we go over to our build menu and go to landscaping, we're going to go ahead and go to level. We're going to build this up a lot bigger. And we're going to go ahead and increase the strength too. And we're going to just, come on. Maybe we're going to level it. There we go. Like, it's better if we go that way. I think our truck is too close right there, our tractor. And we can level that all back up. The thing is, that does cost money. So the money we just made from selling off all of our stuff, we just spent a bit of it trying to level all this out. And, you know, it's really not perfect either. So just kind of keep that in mind when you sell stuff, when it's right on the map base game wise. You're not necessarily going to make everything if you're having to fix the ground afterwards. So make sure you save beforehand and then do it. And if you're not happy, just reload your save. All right, for the next thing, loans. If you go to financing tab here under your settings menu, and see, I should have autosave turned off so that we don't keep saving in the middle of this video. And you go down to financing. If you notice down at the bottom, it has borrow money and repay money. Loans are something that I kind of was always scared of in here, because to me, in a game like this, you're getting the money and then you're having to repay the loan and getting interest and everything else. Interest is hardly anything in here. If you need money for equipment, or if you're trying to get a new field, and especially if you know you're going to be able to pay it off within a year or hell, even 2 years, just get the loan. You can take out a ton of money. I mean, an extra $500,000, that means we can buy a ton of equipment or a ton of land or whatever we want. So it can really help, especially with the next tip that I'm going to share, which is get into your productions early. Productions are something that I was kind of scared of the entire time I started, and it took me a long time of playing FS22 before I bought any production buildings. And it's really just kind of silly that I did it that way. Again, it's kind of from advice that I heard on a lot of beginner videos was, don't worry about productions, just ignore them. You don't need to get into it. It's more complication than you need. But the thing is, they really help enhance your profits, and it's not anywhere near as complicated as it seems. So right here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start this up, open our cover, and that worker's done, so I'm not going to be able to pull up next to him right now. I'm going to have to actually turn back on and pipe out. We're going to fill up this trailer real fast with all of this wheat. Now, what I used to kind of focus on is, okay, I've got all my wheat, and I used to just go and look into, if I go to the right spot, look into our prices here and go, okay, do I want to sell it now or show the price fluctuations? And Well, there we go. January is going to be the best time to sell it. We're going to want to throw it into our bin over there and wait until January. But to be honest, that's still not near the best price you can get out of this wheat. Simply because if we go, and I want to say the grain mill's all the way up there. Yep, it is. If we go and buy that grain mill, in fact, you know, let's do this. Let's send our worker up to the grain mill here. And make sure he starts driving. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and select the grain mill. Come on. And I totally did the wrong thing. All right. We're going to select our grain mill here under our other map. And we're going to hit X to visit, and it'll just teleport us right to the grain mill. Now, this is going to cost $96,000. Which means I want to say we still could have bought it. Yeah, we could have bought it before the loan even because of selling off the buildings, but still could have bought it before the loan. And I mean, now we're going to be able to use that grain for something. Now, the first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to deactivate everything in here because if it's active, it's going to charge you because it thinks you're actually running these productions, which we won't be, at least not until we get our other tractor up here. So now that we've got our tractor up here with the grain that we harvested, the wheat that we harvested, we're going to bring it right up to our unload spot over here. And just because I feel like it goes a little bit faster, we're going to change that to tip side left so that we can just dump it out the side here. And we're going to throw all of that grain into our grain mill. And I should have gone the other way. We're going to go back over to the wrench icon over here so that we can get back into it. The other way you can do it is right through your menu, but if we come up to here and hit L, it'll pop us into it. Or if you go to your start menu and go down to productions, it'll put you into it too. But we're going to go ahead and activate our wheat production, which will start turning that into flour, which is going to sell for a much higher price than our wheat will by itself. So our wheat would sell at a maximum of about 1,200 per 1,000 liters. And if we go down to flour, that's going to sell at a maximum of 2,000 per 1,000 liters. So that's $2 per liter versus $1.20 per liter. I mean, that's a pretty big jump. It's not double, it's close to double, not quite, but it'll really help boost profits. And if you have that earlier and you replant grain into your fields and keep running grain, that'll really help increase profits much faster than if you're simply doing the grain and selling it off by itself, because it's kind of what this game is about, is just making money on your farm. So it's a lot easier to make the money if you can just go ahead and continue that production and make more off of it another way. And I mean, keep in mind, it all just depends on what you want to do too, because you do have limited money to start with. If you'd rather work on planting canola, which sells a little bit higher price than grain does in its base form, well, then maybe you want to go ahead and get the oil mill, because again, if we look at canola here, we're at a maximum of $2.20 per liter, about, you know, $2,100 per 1,000 liters. So we're at about $2.20 per liter. Or if we go down to oil, you're going to be up to almost $6 per liter. I mean, that is a huge jump. Now, again, you are going to lose some to your productions. Like if we look at our wheat production here, you go from 150 wheat to 120 wheat, and that's costing you $24 to do that, but you still make more money. And you make a good bit more money. It's not just a few extra pennies on the dollar. I mean, you're talking like, again, when you're talking nearly double, it was what, an 80% jump or so in profit? I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Now, the other big thing that I saw suggested was, especially on Elm Creek here, when you start, it starts you with 3 tractors and the truck. And one of the things I saw was, well, maybe you should sell off one of the tractors and just kind of stick with 2 to start with, because you'll have enough. Honestly, I really disagree with that one. And I think originally I didn't sell a tractor, and I was really, really glad I didn't, because as soon as you start doing a little bit of work, you suddenly realize, oh, I need more. I don't have enough tractors to do everything I want to be doing at this time. So if we get one going on that field doing that, and then let's get this tractor over here seeding. And I haven't looked at our seasons and where we're at to know if it'll actually let me seed here or not. No, it will not let me seed wheat. All right, so let's just switch this over. And we're going to seed grass right now just because I know it'll let me seed it. All right, so we start seeding grass right there. And, well, let's go ahead and start bringing you back. And you can go over there. And let's say I get a baler or a forage wagon and start picking all of this up. Well, you know what? Right now, I've got just enough to be doing what I want to be doing with 4. Now, as soon as this is plowed, I'm going to need to seed it, and I'm going to need to do something else with this tractor type of thing. And yes, we can get around with just having 2 tractors, 3 tractors, but it's a matter of speed and time management. I've got 3 workers going right now. If I take a contract where, let's say, okay, I'm taking a harvesting contract there for the canola, that means this guy's going to end up doing the harvesting contract. If I have another field I want to do any sort of work in, I'm going to have to wait until I've got another tractor freed up. So it's one of those little things where it seems like, yeah, I can sell a tractor and make some money, or I only need 2 tractors or maybe 3. I tend to buy as many tractors as I can and just keep using them, which is going to kind of bring me to the next one here of keep an eye on the used vehicle sale. If you have a tractor in here that's a decent price, just snag it. You're going to end up wanting it. You're going to end up using it. Now, since we were starting to talk about contracts too, and I did take a contract, that is kind of my last thing that I really want to look at here. So the best thing with the contracts is you don't actually have to do them yourself. So we've got our 1 harvesting contract. And just to make it a little bit easier here, let's go ahead and we're going to take a fertilizing contract as well. I'm going to hit borrow items because I don't think we have a fertilizer right now. And then the other thing I'm going to do, because I don't want to actually have to fill that fertilizer up if I come up to the shop here. This fertilizer thing bucket right here. And yeah, I've got some fertilizer sitting right there. I could fill it up, but I really don't want to. I don't feel like it. Or if I didn't have those sitting there because, well, we only really bought them to kind of play around with the big bag handler. If I switch this back to buy on fertilizer for the AI worker, that means this can now be completely empty and it's still going to fertilize. So if we go back to our jobs menu here, we got to check which field that was. All right, field 30 is the one we have to fertilize. So if we come back over here, I can now create job, target position, and I'm going to start over on this side because you kind of always want to be on the shorter side, just to throw in an extra little tidbit here. If you start on this side, when the worker comes up and turns around, they're going to get back to this point where he stopped, and it's going to go, oh, there's no more field, and stop. It's not necessarily a complete guarantee. Sometimes it still works. It might be the middle of the field that they stop. It might be some random spot. If you stop it or start it on this end, when they come up and turn around, they're going to be hitting the field before they started, and they'll just start working again, and it'll be all fine and dandy. So we're going to start that job, and our worker's going to go and start fertilizing that field. Now here is going to be for our contract here for harvesting. Field like this, it gets a little bit more difficult, and sometimes you might have to just start and restop again just because you've got curves on both sides, or we can always try going this way, and then we'll probably run into an error on that side at some point. So we're just going to go ahead and start off on the left here just because, but we're going to go ahead and create a job for him to field work again. Target position is starting right on that edge. That might actually need another little stripe there, but same thing. We'll start that job and he should drive over and start harvesting there. And this we're going to need to take over to that field. So we're going to want you, well, basically right there. All right, and you're driving. So I've now got workers doing these contracts for me, and they're going to be making me money without me having to actually do anything. The harvesting contract, a little bit different because we're going to have to keep running back and forth with our wagon. But that fertilizing contract especially, I mean, he's just going to go ahead and fertilize the field and maybe glitch out like he just did. If we take a look at our contract here, we are barely completed. All right, let's take a look at our map really fast here. And he didn't fertilize at all for some reason. There we go. There we go. So yeah, now he's going ahead and doing that fertilizer contract and making us money by that contract without doing anything. Now our money is ticking down constantly because we're buying the fertilizer as we go, but that also means that he's going to buy all the fertilizer and not have any extra left over, which, since that's not our own equipment, isn't really a bad thing because then we don't have to unload it with whatever's extra left over. 400 bucks for the wage basically right there's a lot, but that's taking into account all machines that are running right now. And if we're running a big contract like that where we're going to make 5,000 basically off the contract, 4,000, by the time we've paid the worker, we're probably going to be at least at 4,000 still, which means we're really coming out ahead for not having to do any work at all. And then same with this harvesting one. I mean, we're going to make a lot off of this, especially because by the time we sell everything, we're not going to actually have to sell 100% of it. So we're either going to get to keep some of that canola or we're going to make money selling it ourselves. And we're going to be making basically, well, probably over 12,000 even after paying the worker on that contract. So I know I've seen a lot of people say, just do the contracts yourselves, use the workers to do everything on your field while you do contracts. If I've got a worker on my field, he's not making me any money at all until it finally pays everything off in the end. Whereas if I've got him doing a contract, he's making me a lot of money while I can do whatever I need to on my farm, or while there's nothing going on my farm to do. Because, like, I mean, if we just finished right now with this guy seeding, and maybe we want to plant wheat in that field that's open, so we don't need to do anything to that field. If I get back over here right to this field, then we're pretty much done on our farm, which means we can just take more and more contracts that'll make money. Now, if it's something like this where it's 600 bucks, I'm not going to bother really taking that contract to do 600 bucks to fertilize a field with a worker, because by the time you pay him to go to the field and you've borrowed the equipment, if you're borrowing it and stuff like that, it's not worth it. That's the type of contract where if I'm already doing some work up over here, or I have fields over here and that field too needs fertilized and I have a fertilizer over here, yeah, I'll maybe just hit it up real quick to make a few $100 and kind of cover my costs of my fertilizing, but it's not going to be making you thousands upon thousands. Alright, so now, even though we're actually just finishing a small stretch right there on that contract, it is actually completed. So we can finish that out if we want to. We're going to be making 4,400 bucks off of that. 530 was lost for leasing that equipment or borrowing that equipment. But let's take a look at what that really means for how much we actually made off that one contract with using a worker. Wage payments at $712. That's for all the workers we've used this month, which is been quite a few. I've been using workers quite a bit in this video. Fertilizer costs, we're at a whopping 8,500 bucks, but we already spent about 5 grand on fertilizer on those 2 pallets. Actually, no, I bought 2 big bags, so that would be almost 7,000 on fertilizer that I've bought from the big bags in that pallet, which means we're at about 1,600 on fertilizer. And heck, even if we attribute all of the wage payments to this job, which isn't correct at all, that would be, I said, what, we're at about 1,600 on the fertilizer plus 700 roughly on our wages. It's about 2,300, which means if we had all of the other workers work for free, we're still making over 2 grand on this one contract for no work at all on our part besides just telling the worker to go do it. I would say that's pretty good. I mean, you really can't beat that, and the equipment's gone now because it got turned back in. That works out pretty good for us. So yeah, I use workers for your contracts. It really pays off if you're looking to make money quick. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I really hope this video helped you. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you need help with something, let me know. I'm here to help. I try to respond to every single comment I get, and I try to give answers all the time if I can. Sometimes somebody else beats me to it and I don't worry about it, but if you're stuck on something, let me know. I'll make videos for you if you have an issue, especially if it's something that seems like a really common problem to me, or something where it just really doesn't make any sense. And I have done that with a few videos. So if you have any other thoughts, if you need some more help, check out the rest of my channel. I'll throw some more videos up right here at the end, just because really this is a game that's all about learning. Even as I've played it longer and longer, I still learn something new all the time in this game that changes the way I play it. Thank you for watching. Everybody have a great day. Happy gaming.